Hello, I'm AxelMC131 and welcome back to Behind the Blocks in Minecraft 1.8. And today I have this fancy sword to show to you, and you can see it's actually making some snow falling around me. I'm just going to switch back to first person. There we go. And you can see this is an IceBlade, which is apparently has a blade so cold it can freeze any mob where it stands. Well, I'm going to go and try that over here. So I'll just go game mode 0. Let's just run over here into the death pit. Right, we'll summon a zombie. Alright, zombies following me. Aha! Oh. It works! And he freezes every time I hit him. That's very nice. Right, let's summon a zombie with a sword over here. Come on. And freeze. And you can actually see the slowness particle effect there. For about, I think, 3 seconds. That white snow particle does get in the way a little bit. Alright. Dealt with. It's actually unbreakable as well. Right, so how have I managed to do this just by the sword? And you'll notice, by the way, that it only works with this sword. If I take the sword off the selected item, the snow stops, and the zombies will no longer freeze when I hit them. Well, except when it glitches like that. Oh, come on. I have to actually hold the sword and then smack them one. And most of the time, it will freeze them. Hup. There we go. Hup. Get rid of him. Right, so I'll show you how I do this. Right, if I just go game mode 1 again, and just take that sword off the item slot. So over here, this is where all this stuff is happening. So I'll start with the command to actually give you this sword. The sword can be anything that you actually want. But for the sake of this is an IceBlade, and the command to give it is just, this is for this command block, summon the item 1 block above. It is a Minecraft iron sword, count 1, damage 0, that's not actually necessary if it's not damaged, tag, unbreakable is 1, so it is unbreakable, no enchantment tag, so the enchantment tag is there but it's empty, which is how I get the enchantment effect, and then display name IceBlade, and then the lore that I put in. And that's it, and that just summons the sword there. And you can see, I think now I've got another one in my hotbar. Anyway. Right, so there are 2 scoreboard objectives you need to create for this. The first one is the one on the right there, called damage dealt. And that's, if you saw the last video where I showed you how to make a damage taken, it's like that, but the opposite. So it's scoreboard, objectives, add, damage dealt, and it is literally stat.damage dealt, like that. And that's already there. The other scoreboard you need to create is a dummy objective called, in this case, IceBlade. That's a dummy like that. Right, so those are the 2 scoreboards you need. For the sake of this video, the damage dealt is on the right there, and the IceBlade is the score at the top there, which I'm holding. You can hold T or Tab, whatever is your list players button. Even if you're on single player, if you have a scoreboard that is showing its result in the list, so you can go / scoreboard, I should say this, objectives, set display, list, like that, and then put in the objective. And then you can then press T or Tab, depending on what it is. I default it to T because I like to use Enter as my start chat. Anyway, so what we start with over here is a redstone clock running, and it's powering this command block very quickly, and this one a little slower. So what this is doing is this command block here is going to set all players' IceBlade score to 1 if their selected item, right? So the item they're holding in their hand is a Minecraft iron sword with an empty enchantment tag called IceBlade, right? So only if it is this particular sword, and it will give me a score of 1. So if I hold T and you see it up there, if I move it onto there, it goes to 1. And if I let go, it goes back to 0. And that's because of this second command block here, which is running on a slower tick, is going to then set any entity to 0. I've got the any entity over here because this is important for the actual tag, the actual effect of the sword, the slowing down. So make sure it's at E, not at P. It could get a bit interesting if you have lots of entities in the game, but It's how it works. If you can think of a better way to do it, then do let me know. But yeah, so you can see that when I hold that in my hand, I go up to 1. And if I just grab a regular iron sword, it will not work. And it has to be exactly the same. So the spelling is important, because if you spell it differently in this command here to the actual sword, then it will not test true. Anyway, so that's how I'm testing for the item that the player is actually holding. If they are holding the sword, they have a score of 1, and if they're not holding it, they have a score of 0. Anyway, next over here we have this second redstone clock. You could have these on the same clock, because they have 2 outputs on each. But what we're going to do is, first of all, we've got a execute particle effect. So this is executing any player with an a IceBlade score of 1. And we're going to do particle snow shovel, like that. Tilde, tilde, tilde. 0 X and Z diameter, 1 Y diameter. And it's actually starting from my feet. So if I just go like this, and I hold that, if I fly up, you can actually see it's going from my feet. 1 up and 1 down. So it is actually going through the ground, but as long as you're on the ground, you can't see that. And it just looks like it's all settling on the ground. Anyway. And then so 0, 1, 0, 0.01 speed, do nice and slow, 5 per tick, and then force. And that's the particle effect. That's just the aesthetic stuff. Then over here, we are going to test for any player with a damage dealt minimum score of 10. And that's basically half a heart. So if you punch, even if you just punch someone, whoops, even if you just punch someone, it will set that up to 10. If it tests true, any player gets that score, it's going to reset everyone's score to 0. So I can test that by summoning just a zombie over here. So if I just go zombie, and if I just punch him, you'll see it jumps up to 10. If I hit him with the sword, it jumps up to 70. Like that. And that's how much damage I'm actually doing. Right. Let's get that off. So that is how I'm testing for damage. And now what we're going to do is, finally, on this hopper clock here, we're going to do an execute at all players with a damage dealt minimum score of 10. So this is an instant instant damage thing, basically. And they have a score, an IceBlade minimum score of 1. So what this means is that they have dealt damage to an entity within the last second or so, and they are holding the IceBlade in their hand. And what that is then going to do is it is going to execute from that player. It's going to do an effect at any entity with a IceBlade score of 0. And this is why we need to do the the scoreboard objective set all entities IceBlade score to 0, so that any entity around you will always have a 0 score unless somehow they're holding one, and within a range of 5. So when you hit something, all entities within the range of 5 blocks of you will, as long as they're not another player holding the IceBlade, will get the following effect. They will get slowness slowness 5 for 3 seconds, which will actually root them in place for 3 seconds. And you can see the particle effect when that happens. So I can just jump back over here and go back to game mode 0 so they follow me. Just summon a zombie. Oh, and he's going to try and follow me. But if I smack him with this, he will then be rooted in place for a moment. And it does not always work because it's an instantaneous damage thing. So it does sometimes have problems. Like it doesn't register before the damage dealt actually disappears. But there it is. And if you want to actually remedy that, it depends if you want it to be a certified or a possible chance of freeze. If you want to certify that, you can take this command block here, which is doing the effect, off this hopper clock, and chuck it next to one of these two super fast command block clocks. And that will make it pretty much every time. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Oh, I just added, if anyone wants to do like an adventure map with this, here is my suggestion for a custom crafting technique. Iron sword, 7 snowballs, and some soul sand. I don't know, I just threw that together for the hell of it. But yeah, there it is, the IceBlade. Guys, I've been XLMC131, and I will see you guys next time.